Hello, sir. Is there any problem?
Good morning, dear participants, dear professors, research scholars, students, and my dear senior-most professors. A very good morning to all participating in this event. Since our Vice Chancellor has another meeting, he is online now. In a short while, he will come back and join with us. And kindly bear with this. Please wait for some more time. And this event is going to be conducted for 7 days until 21st of July. So all the events will start by 11 o'clock in the morning, and the event will continue up to 11:50 to 12 o'clock, and followed by that, there will be 15 minutes for discussion. All the participants can interact with the experts and speakers. So during the 15 minutes, you can interact with them, and make sure that every time you log in, your video and audio are in mute position. If you need any kind of help, or if you want to communicate, or if you want to convey any message to we people, kindly use the chat box. You can just send the message through the chat box. We will respond to you. And your cooperation is very much essential to conduct this program in a fair manner. I hope this time it's a second time, and most of the people have good experience, and we got that experience from our previous program and also other programs. And I hope your technical support will be very wonderful. And if the technical support helps, eventually the program will be conducted in a very fair manner. This is my humble request to all you participants. And nearly 200 participants have enrolled for this program. And we expect at least 150 active participants. And you please make sure that at the end of every session, there will be a feedback form sent to your email. And you need to fill all the columns in the feedback form and send it back to us within 1 hour. And for all the lectures, we will send the feedback forms. And in case it is delayed, it will be sent the next day or at least in 1 or 2 hours. So the 7 feedback forms are very much essential to receive the certificates. Since this program is free of cost, it is sponsored by Bharatiya University, and we use versatile, good paid version of Zoom application. Hopefully, you can get better bandwidth facilities. And even then, my humble request to all you people is, when the session begins, don't interpret it with muting and unmuting the buttons. Once you did any conversion in audio and video, that will deteriorate the voice clarity and the reception quality. So once you start to listen, you kindly listen as what you do in the regular classroom. And at the end of the lecture, we will give you the chance, and we will inform you to unmute your microphone and video so that you can unmute and you can interact with the speaker. And you'll be given time to interact. In case you are not able to find sufficient time, you can just send your or post your questions in the chat box. So the speaker will read the questions and respond to you. So this is the procedure we have to follow. And at the end of the 7th day, we will send you the Certify M certificates to all you people. And thank you very much, and anticipating your best cooperation in this regard. And we will start this program very shortly. எந்த ஐடியில் வராருங்க?
கார்த்தி
கேக்குதா நாங்க பேசுறது?
இங்க கேக்குதா?
கேக்குது.
கிளியரா இருக்கு.
ஓகே 2 minutes.
What is problem there, sir?
There is no problem, sir. Actually, we are waiting for our Vice Chancellor to join with us. He's on another important call. He'll come back and join with us in a very short while. That's why we are waiting for, sir. Okay, sorry for the interference. Since our Vice Chancellor is on an important meeting with the Higher Education Department of Tamil Nadu, and an important urgent meeting is going on, and he will come and join with us later. In the meanwhile, we will begin the program formally. And before we conclude this session, probably our Vice Chancellor will come and join with us and deliver his felicitation address. So sorry for the inconvenience and delay. And once again, I welcome you all people. Interestingly, more than 100 people are attending this session now. And a very good morning to, first of all, our senior most professor and founder head of our Department of Linguistics, Bharatiya University, Professor K. Karnagaran, former Vice Chancellor of Tamil University, Tanjavur. And Professor Karnagaran is the backbone of the Linguistics Society of India, especially. And his contribution to Tamil linguistics and Tamil Moliyal Sangam in recent days is really great. And but for his cooperation and great effort, this wouldn't have happened. So his unending support and relentless help to the linguistic community is really great. And Professor Karnagaran has made a wonderful department in Bharatiya University for linguistics. And following his footsteps, we are just doing what he just suggests and he thinks. And interestingly, this morning, we have Professor Karnagaran sir with us, and he is going to inaugurate this session by providing a wonderful lecture on the research methods of linguistics and literature. So I wholeheartedly welcome you, sir, this morning with on behalf of the organizing committee, and I welcome you, sir, this morning. And our former professor and head of the Department of Linguistics, Professor Sanvam, also with us, and I welcome you, sir, this morning. And other participants from all over India and abroad, I welcome all you senior scholars. I welcome the organizing secretaries of this great event, Professor Dr. N. Ramesh and Dr. P. Sankar Ganesh, and the organizing, the coordinators of this event, Professor Dr. Sundarabalu and Professor N. Vijayan, and my dear students, my dear research scholars and research associates, Dr. Rajshekhar and Dr. Suresh and Mr. Subramani and all you people. So once again, I welcome you all this morning. And today, our Professor Karnagaran is going to deliver a lecture. And I request the organizer of this event, Dr. Ramesh, to introduce our professor this morning for you. Thank you.
Very good morning to all present here. Really, we are sorry for making you people to wait for such a long time, because due to the Vice Chancellor's thing, we could not get into on time. So we are running short of time. So I'll make it a very short, brief note about Dr. Karnagaran sir. As if you all know, as a father of social linguistics, I can say to be precise. And yes, his contribution to the world of linguistics is enormous. And even now, even at this age, the professor is working with us, and he's our basic inspiration and motivation behind all our linguists here, and especially for the Department of Linguistics from Bharatiya University. So I request Professor Karnagaran sir to enlighten us with this lecture for today's session. Thank you, sir. Shankar Ganesh? Yeah, please let's. Thank you, Professor.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. You're audible, quite audible, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. So now I begin.
Okay, sir.
Good morning, all of you. I am really very happy to participate in this webinar on research methodology organized by the Department of Linguistics, Bharatiya University, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. My dear Professor V.M. Subramaniam, the head of the department in charge, his learned colleagues, Dr. Sundarabalu, Dr. Ramesh, Dr. Vijay and Dr. Sankar Ganesh, my dear research scholars, all over India, I see the names. I am really very happy that many research scholars, researchers from different places, universities of this great nation is participating in this wonderful program on research in linguistics and literature, of course. Research, I started my research in 1964, almost 56 years I have completed as a full-time researcher in different countries and universities from that time onwards. I'm really very happy to be with you all to share some of my views, ideas, experience, which I had during the past half a century or more, right? research methods in linguistics begins with, we observe so many things in life, in classroom, outside, while reading or while writing something, when you start writing something, presenting something. So you have a close observation of some of the things and you feel there is something lacking or something has to be explored further. So exploration, in order to find some facts which you don't have, or identify the areas or some of the aspects which are more important, and so you do exploration also, in addition to your reading or listening, observing, and so on. So that is very important in a research activity. So when you get some of these details, facts, identifications, everything are over, what you do, you wanted to formalize, formally undertake some kind of study. You call it research. You wanted to explore further by using, materials, methods, techniques, and so you start doing pilot study. That is very important in any program that will make you, to gain something, knowledge, whether to go ahead or to stop at some point or ignore it and so on. That's why pilot study is very important. And so you begin with formal research. When you begin with your formal research, you have to have a good theoretical background. If not very good, at least you should know what type of approach or theory is already in force, and you can follow without any problem. So that kind of theoretical background you should gain, and you should start applying that kind of theories, approaches you have gained. Maybe this is one kind of research activity. And then on the other side, you have various applied aspects in linguistics, in literature, or in any subject for that matter. Mathematics, applied mathematics, physics, applied physics, and in many areas, disciplines, you have that kind of divisions. Not only that, go for other slide. Yes. So you, before that, yes, you have quantitative and qualitative or mixed mode type of research activities. Next. So what I want to insist is, say for example, in linguistics, Pike proposed phonological theory, right? Phonemic analysis. At that time, we had so many languages, living languages, with all writing systems and so on. But till then, we don't know how those letters, were arrived at and formed and so on. So he proposed a phonological theory, for example, a contrastive, and we have a morphological theory, we have a syntactic theory. We use language in different socio-cultural contexts, thousands of contexts, and in major domains. So occurrence of phonemes you have, allos you have, clusters you have. In that way, you have to apply the theory. Next one. So what I want to insist is, say for example, in phonology, you have a theory, you have the principle of contrast. Till then, you don't know how to arrive at the phonemes and graphemes to each of the phonemes. So you applied the principle of contrast for the first time, and you identified pin and bin, or pill and bill, and so on. So you have that kind of contrast that makes you to get phonemes, and so each phoneme has a letter later on, and so that was decided. So that's research, real research. Yeah, fills a gap also, right? Then the principle of complete complementation, the allophonic distribution. Till then, we don't know where it becomes other sounds and so on. So we wanted to condition them. So the occurrence of one sound in one particular environment, the other sounds in different environments, mutually exclusive also. So in that way, what happened? You are phonemic allophonic distribution was identified by Pike, and we got that. And Tamil is one of the classic examples for allophonic distribution. You find in the stops, 5 stops, ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. You know, these 5 phonemes have 15 sounds each, and each stop phoneme has 3 sounds, all phonetically similar sounds, ka, ga, ha, and so on. So in that way, the principle of complementation was first proposed, and we wanted to make use of that kind of theory in order to identify the occurrence of allos. Free variation that was also introduced by Pike. Free variation was, people first thought that it is freely varied. One word, more than one word, and more than one grammatical form, morphological form, and so on. But later on, there were changes that took place. Words are also conditioned in different contexts. So context started playing an important role in recognition of the use of words. So use becomes very important. So though we have a number of words, we don't we don't choose all words for a particular context. We use 1 or 2 words sometimes in free variation, but most of the words are conditioned. You see, that's the type of change in research, especially in free variation. Once scholars were of the impression that no word, no form is free. All forms are conditions, whether we agree or not with all words and forms, but in languages, there is a form, there is a meaning, at least one meaning, and there is a function for all words. So form, function, meaning relationship is very important in linguistics. So you have, in order to identify also this kind of study in phonology was for the first time when Pike proposed, people were, astonished. What is happening? So is this the way to, look at or analyze the language data in order to make a writing system for any language? You see, it is universal concept. Then comes the morphological part of language. The concept of morpheme, morph is the reality, and morpheme is an abstraction. And as in the case of allophones, you have allomorphs also, right? Allomorphs are conditioned by the place of occurrence in morphological constructions, you see. So morphological structure was introduced like base and root form. That's more important. Without that, you cannot form any morphological structure. And so what you needed is affixes. Affixes like prefixes, suffixes. Even in languages, there are languages with infixes. And so in order to have a morphological structure, well-defined morphological structure, we formulated, this way, a base or root plus affixes of different types. We have simple and complex structures. Then you have order of occurrence that is very important in morphology. Morphological order cannot be disturbed. It has a definite order. You see, these are all some of the things which we were not clear at those days. And once this morphological theory came into existence, people started following this, applying this theory. So this is a theoretical contribution and original research. So order of occurrences of morphemes. A root comes first and then followed by that, or even sometimes before that, preceding the root, you have affixes added. So that way, the order of occurrence of any morphological construction, morphological form, say for example, walk plus ed, or possible, impossible. So in that way, you have prefix, suffix added, or in languages, in some of the African languages or some other languages, you have infixes also. So role of morphemes in larger constructions decided by, you have a number of such morphemes, whether free forms or bound forms. You see, these are all the concepts which were introduced in morphology. There is a fixed order, definite order. Next one, please. So you have morphological structures. Morphological structures are very important, but there are many languages with complex morphology, with strong morphology. But there are other languages, some other languages also, like Chinese, Malay, and other languages, less morphology or minimum morphology, or without morphology. You have some kind of like languages like Chinese, they have collocations, noun and verb. They will remain as noun and verb always. They don't add anything to the noun and verb, but you will have, they will add a prefix, not prefix, a particle either before the noun or after the noun, before the verb, after the verb. In that way, they change the meaning of the phrase. So phrase becomes important in some languages, and they call it collocations in Chinese. So this is a new development, how to analyze languages like Chinese without directly taking into account the larger constructions like phrase and sentence. But in some languages, you have to have morphology. Unless you do the morphological analysis, it is very difficult to go further in order to explain the phrase and sentence formation. So in syntax, you have structure and function and meaning. all put together, you form phrases where noun and verb are the two major categories in any language. Without noun and verb, you cannot have any formation, either morphological or syntactic. In other words, meaning is formed, meaning is expressed with the help of noun phrase and verb phrase. So noun and verb are the basic forms in any language. All other forms, adjectives, adverbs, particles, and whatever other forms you have, all these are dependent categories. So only if you have a noun or verb in a morphological or phrasal construction, then you can add other particles, adjectives, adverbs, and other forms. So that's why, later on, somebody introduced the immediate constituent analysis. That also very important before the advent of syntactic theories by Chomsky, Noam Chomsky, and others. So in addition to this, you have to have grammatical relationships. Is very important. Grammatical relationship. Without that, you cannot explain the phrasal or sentential combinations. So that is very important. This also was proposed in theory, and we started applying those theories in order to arrive at a syntactic structure of the language or phrase structure of the language, or in other words, a grammar of the language. So these are all research activities in modern linguistics started by various scholars in different universities in different parts of the world. In addition to that, people were in the beginning thinking that semantics or meaning is not part of modern linguistic descriptions, but that was disproved. But without meaning, all words have meaning. Without meaning items, meaningful items are only the words or morphemes. That's why morpheme is a minimum meaningful unit in any language. So in that way, semantics formed the part of linguistic descriptions. We have different type of semantic studies. First, lexical semantics, word meaning, that also is complex. Later on, we have done a lot of grammatical meaning. That is very important in order to explain the structural semantics was proposed by scholars, and then of late what happened is linguistic usages, as I mentioned, all forms are either socially or contextually or culturally or geographically. So all these forms have some kind of conditioning, and you can condition all the type of occurrences. And so role of meaning, that is semantics, became very important. So in that way, so gradually, we realized that there should be good theories in order to explain the lexical semantic forms or the grammatical meaning of different structures. And then in addition to that, language is conditioned by various socio-cultural features, different contexts, situations, formal level, informal level, careful speech, casual speech. So in that way, language, varies from one context to the other, one situation to the other. So in this way, the importance of semantics was realized. In other words, meaning was realized, and we started identifying how to explain the forms in language, and so we look for functions. So that's why I said form function meaning relationship in language. So role of meaning as was considered as important, and so we have different type of languages were identified. You know, in world languages, you can divide our languages as prefixing languages, suffixing languages, tone languages, languages with strong morphology, languages with minimum or no morphology at all. So in this way, you know, these all the findings of the research which helped to classify the world languages. One type of classification is based on comparative studies, which are the languages that share the common features, cognate forms from one to other languages. So you have, in order to group the Indo-European languages, Indo-Aryan languages, Dravidian languages, Tibeto-Burman languages, and all these type of studies came out because of the contribution of this kind of structural formations using morphological or other grammatical forms. Go for the next one. Yes, for example, research is related to different types of linguistic aspects. Descriptive linguistics on the one hand, historical linguistics on the other, and comparative linguistics. Now we have all these, we have done different on languages, all these studies, number of descriptions are available, including tribal languages, literary languages, and so on. Dialect studies are available, and also historical linguistic studies, history of Tamil language, history of Bengali language, and there are so many studies like that. And also, in addition to that, comparative studies of each language family, as Caldwell did for comparative Dravidian, and there are studies related to Indo-Aryan, Indo-European. A number of scholars involved in those kinds of studies and contributed based on the research of independent languages. Then only you can do contrastive or comparative linguistic studies. So you have to depend upon descriptive linguistics, then historical linguistics, and also comparative linguistics. So you have to identify languages, its varieties, and dialects also. There are a number of dialects, sometimes not many dialects, but still you have spoken varieties for languages. So contrasting phonology, contrasting morphology, syntax, and lexical studies were done. And also in comparative linguistics, you have to identify the root forms, how the forms originated, you see, derived from a common source. So in that way, languages share. For example, in Dravidian, Tamil, you have kan for I, E-Y-E. Are shared by many languages. So there are cognate forms. There are some non-cognate forms also. But some languages, for example, languages like Tamil share at least 60% of the cognate forms. So you see, that kind of research also has been done. So this is all the quantitative type of studies also have come into existence. So by comparing the forms, identifying the root forms and the derivations, and also how affixes are added to a number of base forms or roots. So to establish language families also, to identify a language also, this kind of linguistic studies are important. So our theories really helped to identify different type of languages, different type of changes you find, different type of meanings you attribute, and so on. So research related to, you see, linguistic structures formed one part and the semantic aspects formed the other part. So you have to do that now. Otherwise, it is very difficult. Not the one and the same form is used always. In formal speech, when I use a word, in a formal situation, then I restrict it to that situation only. When in an informal situation, I really change according to the context, and so it is informal speech. When I am in a meeting or when I am talking about a particular topic in a platform, you see, I restrict myself to be careful. I am very careful. I choose my words. People say, choose your word. You see, in that way, formal or careful speech makes you to choose your language, word that you use in your speech or in your writing also. So that type of research also later on developed when we gave importance to language use. You have to give language importance. So when sociolinguistics started, we made studies how a particular form is used in formal speech, in conversations, in dramatized language, in different type of classify the linguistics which are preferred. So as address terms, as honorific terms, you see, as in a society, different social contexts, a human being, day-to-day interaction, you see, of human beings differ depending upon the context only. You know, you cannot make use of all words, all types in our conversations. We have to be very careful. That's why we differentiate casual versus casual speech. It starts from even lexical items or even abbreviations. We are very careful in using before in front of some of the children or some of in family members or higher authorities. So in that way, you choose the context and make use of the language. So we started classifying the lexical based studies later on developed as morphology, morphophonemics, syntactic studies, etc. So we make use of linguistic theories for what purpose? You see, a linguistic theory is there. You have to identify where else, in which context or which purpose you use that particular theory. For descriptive studies, you used thousands of descriptions came out by using that theory. Historical studies we conducted. We have a number of history of languages. Then, of course, some of the comparative studies are also available for at least 6 or 7 or 9 families of languages. Not only this, but also for identification, description, comparison, variation, contrasting, or even establishing languages. In order to establish a language, a tribal language, a tribal dialect is given importance and identified as a separate independent language. You need its description. You have to identify about the structures, common structures, so variations. So all these things are important in different studies in different contexts. So these are all undertaken, the research undertaken in order to identify how they vary, what type of contrast is found, how they share and other forms. So descriptive studies, whether it is historical studies or comparative studies, you need a linguistic theory. You need to apply them. So we undertake research. So research based on the need, you see, or the importance at the national, international level for different purposes, right? Right. Then, in continuation to this, you established independent languages. Dravidian means in those days, people were using Panchadravida, 5 languages only: Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, plus Tulu. Otherwise, they don't know where exactly languages, Dravidian languages are spoken, and names of those languages, or who speak those languages, etc. But later on, after the linguistic studies, spread out throughout the undertaken, people undertook a number of studies and established independent languages. Now we have at least 26 independent Dravidian languages. Maybe this is the case in Indo-European, Tibeto-Burman. There are 4 language families in India. So you have studies conducted throughout India. The Central Institute of Indian Languages and the departments of linguistics in most of these states, they really conducted studies, research in these areas. Languages of one and the same language family or different, we identified through using the linguistic theories by conducting field work, analyzing them, their status as independent language. They share and common root forms and so on. So you studied the linguistic diversity, linguistic commonality, linguistic convergence, and origin of languages, and history of languages. These are all, very important for any country where you have multilingualism. We have hundreds of languages in our Indian situation, and you have different tribal languages, literary languages. You have to establish the independent languages. Now we have, there are organizations like Language Division or Central Institute of Indian Languages, Regional Institute of Languages in 6 places, and universities. They all undertake this kind of studies, but using the modern linguistic theories, either theoretical or applied linguistic theories, in order to identify independent languages, their status. And the diversity, you find the commonality, common core, you find the root forms they share, and what type of diversity or convergence have taken place in Indian languages, and that leads to Indian bilingualism or Indian multilingualism. You see, without bilingualism or multilingualism, India cannot, the communications will be very difficult in any state. That too, we find in the present day setup, it is must. So one should know at least 2 or 3 languages. Use those languages for different purposes. For that, linguistic theoretical studies, linguistic applied linguistic studies have really helped, helping also for people, for students to learn languages, students to undertake the research in different areas, and also to help the nation. to have good language planning, language development activities. Next one, please. Right. So that's how, by using the theoretical and the good material, you need to have develop good field linguistic studies. For that also, you have to analyze the languages, you have to collect material. So now you have corpora. I remember those days when I started my research in 1964. I used to walk also in tribal areas, in hill regions, and collect materials. We have worked on so many projects, and we identified languages in that way. So you need good material. That's why we are collecting materials from different sources, directly from native speakers and also by other modes. So structural linguistics have helped for that kind of studies. Contrastive studies, you have to do historical linguistics about the origin of languages. Otherwise, it is difficult. People, if you want to decide the status of a particular language or the affiliation to a particular family of languages, you should need to contrastive studies or comparative linguistic studies. So you have to make descriptive studies. So all these type of linguistic studies, whether structural or contrastive or comparative or descriptive studies, are very important. We have a number of contrastive studies available with English also. You see, English and Tamil, English and German, English and French, English and Spanish. Worldwide contrastive linguistics spread out during 60s, 70s, and similarly, a number of descriptions came out. We have 26 Dravidian languages, and we classified them as Central Dravidian, North Dravidian, South. Three languages, Kui, Kuvi, Malto. You see, there are grammars available for those languages also. So that was the contribution of linguists in those days, in the 20th century. We have field work, and so we have identified languages. Even people people say that there are languages spoken outside India also, Balochistan, Iran, and other places. So we have to undertake some of the activities to collect more materials on Dravidian languages and see what best we can do for the development of comparative linguistics. So that's why, we have developed later on through using the contrastive linguistics, theoretical linguistics, we started developing different applied linguistic studies. We started with language teaching learning methods, LTLM first. People were under the impression that only language teaching learning methods comes under applied linguistics. In 1970, the first book on applied linguistics was published. I don't remember the name of the author, but that was the first time applied linguistics was published, and that was more concerned about language teaching learning methods. But then we started identifying areas, you see, dialect or linguistic geography. It was called first as linguistic geography. That's why you have linguistic atlas, field studies, and so on attached to that. Then later on, you had structural dialectology. A number of researches were undertaken. Then the different multilingual, bilingual, multilingual studies with the help of field linguistics. We developed Then we have social linguistics, giving more importance to society and social studies. We developed a kind of linguistics, and then we finally named it as sociolinguistics. Next one, please. So sociolinguistics became part of applied linguistics. You should also remember research is not independent with restricted to a particular discipline of knowledge. There was a time when people doing only language, only linguistics, only chemistry in that way. But now you have come across interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary studies. We have to make use of knowledge, you see, from different disciplines. If I am doing linguistics, I should be concerned with a number of other humanities, social sciences, because only society makes use of language. Without society, there is no language. So language goes with always society. Communication, that is more important. We have to have so interdisciplinary studies. Similarly, biology with different now computers. You have neurosciences. I will show you how it can undertake research with social sciences and humanities and sciences also. Psycholinguistics, education, stylistics, that kind of literary linguistics. You have communication, modern communication, language and communication, or computer-based communication, online communication, and so on. You have archaeological studies, a number of archaeological inscriptions, study of inscriptions, and so on. Then you have historical and political sciences also in language planning or in the study of history of language, right? Or in comparative linguistic studies, you need the to know more about the history and politics of different periods. Then more important, anthropology or ethnology type of studies. It was really at one point of time, it was anthropologists were more interested in linguistic studies also. Later on, they developed anthropological linguistics, ethno-linguistics, and so on. Here, now you have law and judiciary, you have forensic linguistics, and that kind of activities. So which applied linguistic areas developed, and also in sciences, with sciences, physics, computer science, statistics and mathematics, and also neurosciences. I will show you the applied linguistic areas in a moment. You see, language, first recognized area was language teaching learning methods. Now in language teaching learning methods also, TLM, language learning teaching methods. Then you have, as I mentioned, sociolinguistics, psycholinguistics, translation studies. We have educational linguistics. I don't know how many of you know about. You have all types of, it includes a number of applied linguistic areas also. Then language and communication, anthropological linguistics, ethno-linguistics, koncham mela pogum. ethno-linguistics, style, no, ಅದಲ್ಲ ಇದಲಿಯೇ, yeah, right, stylistics, forensic linguistics, lexicography, lexical semantics, acoustic or instrumental phonetics, computational linguistics, speech pathology, universities like Annamala University, um, uh, they are doing some good work in speech pathology and neurolinguistics. There is one famous Institute of Speech and Hearing in Mysore. You know, they all follow some of the linguistic concepts, how phoneticians or pronunciation helps to solve some of the pathological problems or neurolinguistic problems, aphasia, stuttering, stammering, and so on. So applied linguistics areas are increasing in universities. So research, you have to undertake research particular, depending upon the needs of the society. After all, only society wants certain things. We have to help the society to grow and also to solve the problems of the society, and how best linguists, language can help to solve the problems, even in language teaching or in our medium of instruction. You have to have to introduce our native languages. You don't have to always depend upon a foreign language or one language. You can language learning simple, or make the studies of different disciplines easy by producing materials, by simplifying the existing materials, and so on. So applied linguistics is a need of the society. We develop a particular applied linguistics area because people need that kind of developments to solve their problems. After all, solving social problems, you see, formal level, there are formal level problems, and we have to help the educationists of this land, or the social scientists, or the scientists to solve, to come forward, to undertake programs, so that you can help them to translate materials, to identify the communication channels that would be more useful for people to follow or to adopt. So in that way, language has a definite role, can help in all these ways. We have to choose research areas so that you can boldly say, I have helped the formal communication to improve, to get improved to this status. Now my students find it easy to learn this science subject through this kind of language style. So style is more important. You know, I have come across cases where students, when studying science subjects through Tamil, they find some of the textbooks more easy, more simple. You see, when compared to high language used in some of the textbooks, that's why you have our language planning. We introduce simplification, elaboration, modernization. All these concepts we have adopted and we are using in our language planning, language development activities. So that is another important area where linguistics directly helps our learners, our students to choose and use. So that's more important. So language planning helps us to improve not only develop those languages, but also helps to improve the learning activities Understanding is very important. Comprehension is more important. Whatever I say, it should reach the community, to the specific target group. Otherwise, it becomes useless. So, language communication, how best you can make use of language communication. So, not always high language is preferable. Sometimes you have to simplify. You have to make use of less complicated structures in textbooks or even in public platform, in classrooms and so on. So you have to improve your language and communication aspect. That is more important. After all, language is we have to plan and see that good material. So material production, that's another important area. You need to produce, and not only should have glossaries, you should have different type of dictionaries, subject-oriented dictionaries also. That's glossaries also very important. You have to immediately, refer to a particular concept. You should have simplified glossaries and dictionaries, and also translation. Now we find it difficult to identify translators. Why? The reason is they don't know other language. See, that's the type of attitude we find. So, in order to for better translation, one should know both the languages equally well, and that's the reason why our robo fails in translating contextual use of language. So in that, go in detail to type of words, more important, meaning-based, grammar structure-based. So there should be many lexical studies, words and meanings. Yes, please, next one. So you have a number of lexical usages. You have homophonous forms, synonymous forms, antonyms, hypernyms, and so on and so forth. So lexical items also, you should give importance. You have derivations, you have inflections, and you have base forms and root forms, collocations. All these forms, they are all conditioned. They are all needed for different purposes, to make it more simple or to make it more elaborate. So there is we observed so many items, context. We wanted to explore, to identify fact finding for our or any research. With this, we undertake pilot study, a full-fledged study, a qualitative study, a quantitative study, or a mixed mode study nowadays. So in this way, we undergo அடுத்து. Then we formulate or fix what? Goals and objectives. Look for researchers, studies already made or made so far available in that particular area. Then identify the gaps, left outs, or further needs, additions, even deletions needed. And finally, you undertake a good full-fledged study by raising questions to make clear some of the things which are not clear earlier. So, yes, what we do, you choose a research inter or multi. We try to develop, achieve the educational development on the one side, planning implementation on the other hand, through which you attain social development, and finally, you achieve national development, right? So our research contributes not only for the development of self, group, improve the proper nation building with the support of all types of linguistic activities. So a linguist should plan for the development of the society on the one hand and the nation on the other hand. So with this, our research should go forward. Our research should be always concerned with the society and the nation. We should not only develop our own languages, but also help develop better communication in all parts of 2 minutes. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
ఆన్లైన్ ఉంటారా సార్ ఉంటారు Dear participants, our Vice Chancellor is going to join with us in a short while to deliver the presidential address, which is supposed to be presented this morning. Kindly wait for a few minutes.
சார்
Yes.
சார் வந்துட்டாருங்க சார், நீங்க வெல்கம்.
Very good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sorry for troubling you, sir. You are having a lot of programs and engagements. And anyhow, thank you very much, sir, for joining with us today, this morning. So it's my humble job to welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor to this webinar program. So the Department of Linguistics, Bharatiya University, is organizing a series of lectures through the online in the form of webinar series. And this is the second one. It is specifically for a faculty development program. And the participants are faculty members of various universities and colleges in and abroad, and research scholars of Bharatiya University, other departments of linguistics of India, and students of MA Linguistics and other programs. So I once again welcome you all people. And our former Professor Ganagaran sir is on the way of presenting his first lecture on the research methodology. And today our Vice Chancellor is joining with us to deliver the presidential address. So it's my humble job to introduce you about our Vice Chancellor of Bharatiya University, Professor P. Kaliraj sir. Sir has made a wonderful development to uplift the name and fame of Bharatiya University to all the greater heights in research and all other academic activities. Since he assumed the office, he is a busy bee and sparing not even a single minute in other activities. So for his whole day work is only on the development of Bharatiya University. And thank you very much, sir, for offering this chance to conduct this webinar series for the second time in our department. And with all your guidance and with all your support, we are making this wonderful webinar series specifically for the linguistics and literature. And with this simple introduction, I welcome you, sir, to deliver the presidential address. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Subramaniam.
Thank you, sir.
Respected Professor Karnagaran, Dr. Vijayan, Dr. Sundar Balu, Dr. Ramesh, Dr. Vijayan, and Sankar Ganesh. I'm extremely happy to join with you of late for the webinar on or the faculty development program on contemporary research methods in linguistics and literature, and especially for sampling and analytical methods of scientific perspective. And you have a lot of stalwarts who are able to tell about this. I'm not expert in this area, but I could see that linguistics plays an important role. How this language is um, making the people to come to the good living, and how the society is getting developed through languages. The language development is an important aspect. Lot many people have done research, and people work on the culture and heritage, how the language is playing an important role in terms of development of the culture, as well as how the heritage is useful for improving the uh, science, technology, and also the living of the people for the particular environment. And the linguistic department of Bharatiya University, I know many of the people, including Professor Garnagaran, they did a lot for the research on linguistics. Now, this linguistic research, it is a multidisciplinary subject, and it will be useful for unearthing the relationship among the languages, among the society, culture, psychology, and computational language models. Lot many tools are being used these days, and the FTP programs to place, stress on the modern concept, and especially how we are going to use the modern concept, modern tools and curriculum for the linguistics, and what are the models they are taking, and how it is going to be useful to the faculty members of Bharatiya University, other academic institutions, and the students of Bharatiya University and other academic institutions. I welcome you all for this program, the 7-day faculty development program, which is organized by Department of Linguistics. I'm sure you'll be benefited out of this particular program. I wish that this program is not only for listening to others. I request that you make use of it for interacting with each other, develop some new concept, and use for the development of the university as well as for the society. Thank you very much. Sorry for the delay and joining with you very late. We were busy with some of the government meeting. It involves curriculum development and exam details. So many things are going on. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sorry for today and joining with you. We were busy with some of the government meeting. Development and exam details.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. On behalf of the organizing committee and the Department of Linguistics, on behalf of Dr. Karnagaran, sir, we thank our Vice Chancellor. Amidst his busy schedule, he just delivered his presidential address. Now, I request Professor Karnagaran, sir, to complete his session. Thank you, dear participants.
Okay. It is, I think we had useful time with our discussion through this. In continuing to benefit of the students, scholars, researchers, not only in their university, but also throughout the universities in India. I am really happy to participate in this kind of program, and I wish that they should continue to do a lot more for the benefit of students and researchers. Whatever you do for researchers and students will eventually go for the society and benefit the nation to be. And thankful to Dr. Subramaniam and his academic colleagues and others who are doing wonderful job in this arena. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, a professor has completed his session now, and it's already 12:30. It's a bit late, but still, participants who are interested to talk to our professor or get any clarification, kindly talk to him or post your questions very shortly. And I invite the participants to interact with our professor. Thank you. Now participants can unmute your microphone for a while during the discussion. Only those who want to talk to our professor can unmute. The rest of them, you just listen.
Good morning, sir. I am
Yes.
Abhilasha from BHU, Banaras Hindu University. I am a research scholar, and I have one question, sir, that if a language does not have its literature, how can we get its history, its origin?
You see, there are languages without formal literature, but you can depend on the informal literature, the folk literature. No society is free from that. All societies, they have some kind of folk literature. So you can go through that kind of literature and identify the areas, some of the areas, even the good old types of folk songs, folk drama, kutu, street plays. There are so many plays, games, and so on. You see, they all form part of their language. You have words, you have different type of expressions. So you can develop, study, do field work and get some materials and also give it to the people to formally they can make use of in different at different times. That's all you can do. That's how we have recorded so many folk studies, folk literature studies are now available on tribal groups, on tribal languages, right? And later on, we have like Toda studies or other folk studies available in Dravidian or even in other languages also. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir, and thank you so much for your informative session.
Okay, thank you.
Dear participants, hope you are listening. And if you have any other questions, you can just make it up.
Hello, sir. May I ask, sir?
Yeah, please speak up.
Yes, sir. Actually, I want to ask about, there is a language called Pali language, sir. And this language has, it was initially called as Magadhi language, the language of the Magadha dynasty, sir. And actually, I'm a monk, a Buddhist monk, and I'm doing translation works. But the Pali language, actually, there is another language called Magahi, which is spoken in the Bihar state of Bihar, sir. So, and they found that this language is actually the same language that was spoken by Buddha, or the Buddhist texts or written in this language. But what I found is this language has evolved in the spoken dialect, but those things that are preserved in the Buddhist texts are philosophical in nature, and the semantic, the meaning wise, it is very deep and very sound, sir. But the spoken vernacular language that is has changed to Magahi from Magadhi is very common and very crude language, sir. So how can I find any sort of connection? Is there any possibility to find any more a deep connection between these two, sir?
It is interesting. You have to first identify the roots of these people, right? And try to find out in those languages with which they had contact. So contact languages of the earlier times, probably have some data available. If at all you can do some field work with the people in and around those areas, maybe you can identify the oral material and record them so that you can make use of them. Otherwise, I don't know any references available in some of the works on Pali. If at all you can get some of those reference material, then you can decide about their linguistic contacts and the communications they had those days. Other than that, I don't know whether there are any mention about these languages in your Buddhist script that you have to identify, right? Probably that will help you to explore further.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Many thanks, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other comment, questions from the audience?
Thank you, dear participants. If there is no more question, shall I call upon Dr. Sundrabalu, coordinator of this session, to deliver the vote of thanks for this session.
Good afternoon, everybody. The most honorable Vice Chancellor P. Kaviraj, Vice Chancellor Bharat University, Coimbatore, respected Professor Karunakaran, the former Vice Chancellor of Tamil University, Tanjavur, respected Head of the Department of Linguistics, P.M. Subramaniam, The coordinator of this program, Professor N. Ramesh, Professor Sankar Ganesh, my dear colleague, Professor Vijayan, my dear participants, scholars. It gives me great pleasure to propose vote of thanks. The August gathering. Professor Kaliraj delivered the presidential address very short manner. He explained about something in linguistics and applied ideology. So, behalf of the department and my own behalf, thank you, Professor Honorable Vice Chancellor of Bharatiya University. And Professor Karunakaran today delivered on lecture Changing Trends in Modernization of Research Methods in Linguistics and Literature. He defined many things about the phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and other applied linguistics, how the linguistics component related to the tribal studies and in other field, in applied field. He given some examples related with the modern scenario. Behalf of the department, I thank Professor Karunakaran. The session is wonderful. Some of the speakers also raised the question. So the next session, maybe the participants should actually ask question. They will ready to give the proper answer to you. And thank all the coordinators and the organizing secretaries. He prepared a wonderful faculty development program. And also thank head of the department. He arranged this kind of webinar like the faculty development program. I personally thank all the participants, scholars, students. Thank you, one and all.